What is going on, everybody? Zach RC here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome along to episode number 65 of the F1 Ultimate Career Series for the Mexican Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the last episode, make sure to go check that one out before you see this one. And as always, if you are new around here, then make sure to get subscribed for more future F1 content as the series continues on. So, 3 races then left to go in the 2023 F1 season, and of course 3 races left with Mercedes before we move on for next year. In terms of resource points, got 2,500 in the bank to spend, but of course regulation changes you can see on the screen are coming in for powertrain and the durability department as well. Of course, those have no real impact on us in Ultimate Career, so we'll put those towards an Ultimate upgrade, our first Ultimate upgrade of the whole series, I think. Obviously, doing a season per game makes it a little difficult to actually reach that point, so we've actually managed to do it on the durability front, so that's all good there. And Mercedes obviously the fastest car by a bit of a distance now to Red Bull. We'll make a change to our MG UK, we've got one more left in the season before we get to Abu Dhabi, of course, in 2 races time. We've got one more turbocharger as well, we'll not change that going into qualifying, but we'll change the MG UK back for now and use the old one during practice. There's the championship standings then, 7 points back from Lando, it's close for P5. Honestly, I'd say P4 as a shout is possible with a good result. Obviously, we need to try and outscore both Perez and Norris, so I think 3rd place out of possibility. And Hamilton could potentially clinch the championship today. Verstappen there needs to win the race, I think, to have any chance of probably standing a chance against Lewis in the next 2 rounds. And of course, the rivalry 5-all there between myself and Verstappen, so we've chosen a decent time to take him on. But of course, not a fantastic run last time out in Qatar, so let's try and improve in Mexico, of course, the place we took our first victory of the series back in 2020. And then in the marketing department, it's an Ask the Drivers feature. Obviously, those have no real impact on us, so we'll decline it for now and just push forward to the rest of the Grand Prix weekend. Of course, looking forward to this one, and only a few races left. Mexico, then the next episode will be in Vegas, and of course the finale in Abu Dhabi to cap off our career with Mercedes, and of course move on to where we choose to go in the next season. In terms of upgrades, anything more we can do in terms of the points we've got left on the board for a new upgrade? One more minor upgrade on powertrain, and we'll have that sorted for Vegas, but that's more or less all that needs to be done. So without further ado, let's head over to Mexico and get this Grand Prix weekend underway. Let's jump right into qualifying. Here we go then, time for qualifying for the Mexican Grand Prix, round 14 of the season. But of course, before we head on to the racetrack, we need to make sure the power unit is all in condition. If those of you don't know, I changed the power unit parts before quick practice, sim those because obviously it puts wear on the car, and then put the fresh ones back on. But I forgot to put the control electronics box back, so we're going to spend a few minutes in the pit lane repairing that. But once that's all changed, we can head on to the racetrack for our first flying lap. It's out of turn 17 and onto the main straight. A bit of a slide there on the rear end out the last corner, but going up towards turn 1 out of our first lap now underway. Mexico, quite similar to Monza in terms of track shape, at least from a bird's eye view. You can argue they look quite similar, but obviously with a few more technical sectors as part of the circuit for Mexico. Of course, the main straight here, one of those rare points where we actually max out the top speed of the car, 218 miles an hour on the run towards that first corner. DRS and battery in play. Perez fastest, of course, Perez's home Grand Prix, looking for a good performance out of him at Red Bull this weekend. And DRS in play out of turn number 3 down towards turn 4. Of course, 3 DRS zones on the circuit, heading down towards the end of the first sector, 28.9, Verstappen 117.4, so work to be done here. We struggled a fair bit through the first couple of corners, especially in that first sector, pushing on down towards the 3rd sector on the circuit, through turn 12 and into the stadium section for the first time here. Of course, very tricky parts of the circuit to get right, especially your entry, because the timing screen on the left covers up the apex to the corner, so I have to try and work our way around that. But through 16 and 17 now to complete our first lap. Not a fantastic start here. Ricardo set a 118.9. We're on a 119.2, so a terrible start here to our first lap. I think Hamilton's having struggles as well. We'll look at a second lap here and see if we can try and find some time to onto our second lap. Again, running wide there this time at turn 13, so losing a few tenths, but regardless, about 7 or 8 up to enter turn 16 once again. So improving, but not by much here. Plenty of time to try and find on this circuit, but not a lot of time to actually get those improvements sorted. So up to P11 then on board. Hamilton in P10, that's on raw pace, so Lewis is struggling as well. So perhaps the circuit in general not suiting our Mercedes. Verstappen is fastest right now, of course. Verstappen arguably needs the win and Lewis to not score in order to keep this championship rolling to the next round in Las Vegas. But in terms of our case though, pushing on to our last lap, again, fresh soft tyres, but not finding too much time here. Of course, improving massively through turn 13. It's coming into turn 16 once again, only up by a quarter of a second here, so not at all a fantastic lap. It looks to be quite a poor end to qualifying, and the checkered flag falls on us now over the line. Only P12 on the starting grid. It's an awful qualifying, perhaps our worst on raw pace in quite some time. It leaves us with a lot to do in the Grand Prix.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who'll be fronting the grid. Verstappen, Leclerc and Sergio Perez. With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
So Verstappen is on pole then, Leclerc second by 700ths and Perez in third. Then it's Piastri, Gasly, Sainz, Alonso, Ocon, Tsunoda and Stroll the top 10. We qualify P12, Lewis in P13. Work to be done then for Mercedes in this Grand Prix, but can we try and pull off some points and can Lewis secure the championship?
Bienvenidos to the most populous city in North America. The legendary Jim Clark won the first official F1 race back in 1963 here, and we've had a veritable who's who of winners ever since. It's Mexico City, and therefore the Mexico City Grand Prix. We're a long way above sea level here in Mexico today, which could pose some cooling issues for the cars as they make their way around this 2.6-mile lap. 17 corners with top speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and watch out for potential overtaking into turns 1 and 4. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Gasly, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Stroll, Joe, Cohen, Hamilton, Ocon, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, Albon, Ricciardo, Sargent, Norris, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. The last few races have been a bit rough for them, unable to get a clean run. That's got to have some effect on their confidence, surely.
Certainly confidence is an important factor. And every time you're involved in an incident, it's not just the car you damage, but that confidence as well. But all the top racing drivers are able to tune that out when the race gets underway and focus on the job at hand.
Here we go though, no more talking, time for action for the Mexican Grand Prix from P10 on the grid, improving our starting spot thanks to a few grid penalties for other cars. In terms of strategy, the race ahead then, soft tyre at the start, medium tyre to the end. Could be a risk given how quickly we've seen the soft wear in recent races, especially in Qatar, and of course the hard tyres were a concern too. So we'll look into the hard tyres potentially if we need to later on, but for now, soft mediums, and obviously if we need to change the game plan, we'll do just that.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
So a number of cars been out of place in this qualifying order, which could make for a fantastic and very entertaining Grand Prix. So Norris towards the end of the order, obviously Gasly up in P4 with hard tyres on the stars in that car, so it could be a problem for the Alpine team in the first stint of their obviously being faced with cars on much grippier tyres. Hamilton there lines up behind us. He can win the championship today, but needs some points on the board and preferably needs to avoid Max winning the race. And obviously the Constructors' Championship, as it stands right now, Red Bull getting a lot of points off of us if things stay as they are. So work to do for both cars here to get ourselves up the order in this race, as the last 2 cars take their places at the back of the grid. Norris there in P19 looking to work his way up through the order, but everyone now is all in place and it's time for the lights to come on for round 14. 3 races to go in 2023, the Mexican Grand Prix about to get underway. Verstappen on pole, Leclerc alongside him. It's lights out, foot to the floor. Go, go, go. We're racing here in Mexico. Good getaway compared to Zhou on the left there. The run towards turn 1, the long run towards this first corner. Fantastic jump here. Tsunoda on our left. There goes Stroll on the left hand side as well, taking it 3 wide with a number of cars here in between Gasly and Sainz. The run towards this first corner. Sainz outbreaks us, going a bit too safe here. 4 wide into the first corner. 2 cars are right there, and Stroll is trying to get around us, can't quite do it. We're going to jump in front of all of those cars and take P7, so 3 places gained then on the start. Fortunately, no damage as of yet. Carlos Sainz our next target. Gasly and Alonso in front of him, the 2 Red Bulls, and Charles Leclerc in front. So down the inside of Sainz then into turn 4, and obviously continue that move into turn 5 around the outside of the Spaniard. An on-corner exit, jumping clear of the Ferrari and up into P6 only just. I mean, just shut Sainz out a bit there, but another place gain, and Pierre Gasly on the hard tyres, our next target on the run down towards turn 12. No DRS here for 2 laps. Down the inside of Gasly, can't quite challenge him, going into turn 12, but into turn 13, possibly going to make a dive here to the inside of our former teammate into turn 13 around the outside of 14, pulling clear in 15 and taking the place for turn 16. So end of the first lap then, P5 in our possession, but Alonso, Perez, Verstappen and Leclerc already at 2 seconds plus in front of us, making our way back towards turn 1. Hamilton is in the pit lane here. What's happened early on to our teammate and potential world champion today, Lewis Hamilton, who's got a problem? It's a wing change for Lewis. He's got damage on the first lap. What could that mean potentially to his title rival, Max Verstappen, as those two go toe-to-toe for the world championship? Now, Hamilton is away. What's happened to Lewis on the first lap? I have to look at the replay and see exactly what's gone on with our teammate. So Hamilton was actually one of the cars involved in that altercation going 4 wide into the first corner. Stroll is there, Tsunoda's there as well, and Stroll has cut across Hamilton and given him damage. Was he forced to take evasive action by our move in the middle? I had to wait and see. I'm not really too sure there, truthfully. Couldn't see the whole thing in terms of Hamilton's perspective against us, but on to lap 3 now, start lap 4 of this Grand Prix. Sainz is in P6 and right on our tail, those medium tyres with DRS in play. It's a long main straight on the run towards this first corner. Yellow flag back in turn 16. This could be a red flag. There's a number of stopped cars down there. Sainz though making his move to the inside. Got to try and stay in front of him in case we do get a red flag or a safety car. Down the inside for Sainz at the first corner, down the inside for us at turn 2, and clearing him once again for turn 3. So Sainz keeping us under early pressure. But what's happened behind in terms of the cars having problems there? That's Alex Albon, I found out in the Williams, who's had some kind of altercation here down at turn 16. So on the replay, Albon just loses the back end of the car, over revs it, and obviously spins out. And as a result, holds up a train of cars sat right there behind him. But as he turns himself around, it's very similar to Ocon's few instances this season in Miami and in Japan a few races ago. But Albon turns himself around, gets himself moving again, but obviously at the expense of a number of cars behind him as he falls towards the back of the order. So poor start for Albon then in these first couple of laps. But in terms of our race here, on to midway through lap 4, and Sainz is still giving us pressure, about half a second back. He's running a bit wide there through the S's, making it struggle to get through there nice and easy. And Tsunoda's got a problem now. Yuki Tsunoda after the session, our first retiree with this Mexican Grand Prix, is the AlphaTauri of Yuki. So what has happened to Tsunoda then on lap 4? So very early on into this Grand Prix, I think he was part of that train that actually got stuck. It might have been, it might not. It might have been the AlphaTauri that got away of the two, because one of them was stuck right behind Albon. But in terms of Yuki though, smoke pouring from that AlphaTauri, that brief puff there going through turn 6, and that's the telltale sign. So Yuki's got to pull the car over, and he is out of this Grand Prix. So very early on, painful then for AlphaTauri, leaves Ricciardo as the lone car for them in this Grand Prix. But on to lap 5 now, Sainz on our tail with DRS going towards turn 1, making your way through turn 2, and again struggling in these slightly tighter parts of the racetrack here as we run wide at turn 3. Sainz takes full advantage, DRS in play for him. They might try and pull to the inside if he can, going towards this 4th turn. Try and make a move, goes all the way to the left hand side of the racetrack, and they try and cover him off, going into the left hand, can't quite do it. Sainz is there, cuts across the grass. We'll go around his inside and take the place back, so holding on to our spot for now. But we're now lugging a train here. Stroll is there, I think that's Gasly is there, and Piastri is there too, as Norris is still fighting his way back to the order. There's the yellow flag for Tsunoda as we get around him. Obviously he's out of the Grand Prix, so no concern to us as of right now, but lugging this train around Mexico. On to lap 6, Sainz again with another run. DRS is potent in this Grand Prix. It's a constant thing you've got to worry about, especially on a long straight such as this one. Going through turn 2 and 3, again out of shape here, having to brake to avoid running wide anyway. And now Sainz getting alongside us on the right hand side this time, and DRS in play for him. He pulls clear for a second, jumps in front, edges a nose in front, but coming to an outbreak and going into turn 4 once again. This time we've got the inside for 4 and the outside for 5, as we've done in the first lap. So Sainz back in our mirrors again, and we're into P5 again. Now Stroll challenging Sainz there for 6th place. So these two fighting, scrapping side by side through turn 6, gives us all the time and advantage to try and get away here, try and build ourselves a bit of a gap for a little bit, give ourselves a bit of breathing room and start to work on chasing down Alonso. But I think that's some kind of mechanical problem, because Alonso is off the pace of the top 3 now. He's still with them for the minute, but he may start backing off after a little while. But Stroll is now, obviously his teammate is now the car in place to try and challenge us onto lap 8 of this Grand Prix. Stroll will get DRS and make his first challenge, try and make a move for P5 to the inside of the racetrack if he can get close enough. There he goes to the right, going to try and cover him off, can't quite get there. Stroll goes given the space on the inside, going towards this first corner, go dart back out to the left to cover off Sainz, making a move. Stroll potentially goes straight on there, but avoids it luckily. And going to try his inside over the curve a bit. Not too sure if that's illegal or not, but Stroll not bothering to try and get ahead, so we'll jump clear of him and take P5 back there nice and easy. So not too sure if we broke any rules there in terms of making that cut, but Stroll doesn't seem to want the place, so we'll take it back for ourselves then. On to lap 10 then, making no real progress in terms of this train as we make our way through into turn 13 again, running wide there, and Sainz takes full advantage, goes at the inside, got the outside for turn number 15 and makes his way through, gets around us. So Sainz takes P5, but crucially, he got around us just before the DRS mark. So we'll come through and get DRS for ourselves as Gasly coming in for a very early stop in this Grand Prix. He's on a hard tyre. Surely he wants to go longer in this race. DRS is open though, and we start challenging Sainz again as we did last time out in Qatar. But this time, we're the car in the attack, making our way down towards the right-hander of turn 1, around the outside of Sainz, easy as you like, and up into 5th place once again. Sainz now 6th, and Piastri now in 7th place. That McLaren's got some pace in it, so it might try and challenge us later on in the Grand Prix. Keep an eye on Lando too, starting to come back in this race. Hamilton has caught a number of cars here, but is still out of the points paying places. So Verstappen with a very good chance to win this race right now, put himself in a fantastic position in terms of the World Championship for himself. Of course, yet to win the title in the 4 seasons of Ultimate career so far, so that objective is a crucial one for him. But on to the end of lap number 15 now, and coming in for our first pit stop of the race. The soft tyres have lasted this long, but the orange tyre light is now there. And who is joining us in the pit? Is anyone joining us in the pits? Looks like Ocon is, so get one other car with us in this little train, and Norris I think is there as well coming in. So into our pit box now and making our change onto a set of hard tyres. Made a decision to try and pit those because the soft tyres running out quite quickly. I'm not too sure how long the mediums will last, but is that the right move crucially? Of course, I did say that if I felt the soft tyres were running out too quickly, it's too much of a problem in this race now, I'd make the switch onto hard instead of mediums. But obviously, everyone around us is on mediums, but hopefully those tyres should wear off of them over the course of the Grand Prix, and obviously get us a bit more advantage in terms of having grip left towards the end of the race. But Ocon though is gaining on us already, making way out the pit lane and back towards turn 1. So was this the right move? We'll have to see if anyone can try and challenge us here onto lap 17 of this Grand Prix. Hamilton's coming in to pass him again, so he's just outside of the points right now, and work to be done for him. But in terms of our race, there goes Ocon to the right hand side of the racetrack, and we're catching up on Sargent going towards this first corner. Can we try and make a move, outbrake Ocon and take Sargent as well? Outbraking Ocon down the inside of the American into the first corner, and only just nabbing P9 back. And I'm hoping Logan gets back on the line and tries to hold off Ocon, but he can't do it. So Ocon takes P10 back from Logan, who falls out the points paying places. Albon, his teammate, there in front, and Magnussen P7. Number of cars yet to stop in this Grand Prix. But on to lap 23 now, back in P6, and Gasly now pitting off his medium tyres, and on to lap 24 will take P5 backs. But now it's Lando Norris in position to try and challenge us on the run towards this first corner. Norris with a great run here, and that McLaren is actually on pace with us going towards this first corner. Norris pulls in front, Ocon might try and pull in front too, going to pull alongside us down the inside of the McLaren though, into the first corner. Can we hold him off? Only just. Norris backs out of it. Ocon is now trying to challenge us, can't quite do it himself. Stroll, Norris side by side for P7, but we're jumping in, holding on P5 for now. Truthfully, I think P5 have been all we can get at this Grand Prix, thanks to our tyre choice, and obviously the fact the top 3 have been, and top 4 rather, have been so much quicker than us today. Alonso 14.1 in front, so he did have a problem of some kind, but I think he's getting back up to speed again. And Magnussen out of the race here, second retiree. This Grand Prix is Kevin Magnussen in the house. What's happened to K-Mag then, making her way through the second sector? What's happened to Magnussen? On the replay here, making his way towards challenging Albon, and there's the smoke going towards turn 1, so Albon can breathe a sigh of relief knowing that Magnussen won't challenge him anymore in this Grand Prix. Magnussen won't challenge anyone in this Grand Prix. He is now out. See him also on the hard tyres there, so he made the same call we did in terms of pit strategy in this Grand Prix, but unfortunately he won't see the flag, and we can only hope that we will too, given that our power unit has been known to fade out at this point in the race. But Magnussen is gone as us on lap 29. Norris is still on our tail here, making our way through the stadium section, once again heading towards turn 16 and 17. See that train we're pulling behind us here. Sainz has fallen back into the 5th car on the line now. Piastri's the 6th car. I think Hamilton might be joining us at the back of the order of this train here. You see him there out of turn 17 in the back of your screen. But Norris though is our main focus on the run towards this first corner onto lap 30. And Norris tries the right hand side again, pulls in front, pulling alongside and almost pulling clear here. Ocon trying the outside, going to try and switch to the inside for this first corner if we can into turn 1, making that move. Ocon doesn't get a chance. Norris on the inside, we have the outside and clear him through turn 2 and through turn 3, up into position once again back into P5, and this is getting mighty close in this Grand Prix as we seek to try and hold off the cars around us and just trying to take home some valuable points in this Grand Prix, given the challenge Red Bull are giving us. Norris tries the inside, lap 35, a lap and a half to go in this Mexican Grand Prix. Norris on the inside for turn number 12. Going to try and pull in front of him if we can on corner exit. Yes, we can into the stadium section once again. We're going to get one real opportunity for Norris to try and get around us in terms of chance for passing. That's the main straight here. Look at the hard tyres. The hard tyres are dying out, and everyone else's mediums seem just fine. So something seriously wrong with our tyre wear in these last few races. But on to now the bell lap, the last lap of the Grand Prix, and Norris' potential last chance here, going towards turn 1 to make a move with us with DRS, using all our battery towards this first corner. Norris closing in, going to force him towards the outside, force him the long way round, going into turn 1, down the inside of our compatriot once again in the McLaren, and pulling clear of Norris once again, outbraking him, sliding across and narrowly holding P5. So that could be Norris' last chance for now, as Ocon may threaten him from behind, but up front, Max Verstappen is leading his teammate Perez in third place and Charles Leclerc in second. And on a day when Mercedes as a whole has struggled massively and Hamilton won't be crowned champion today, Max Verstappen has done everything he needs to do here. He rounds the final corner through turn 17. Verstappen will triumph here in Mexico. Leclerc in second, Perez takes home third, Alonso finished fourth, and as for us, some 50-odd seconds after Verstappen, we're onto the flag and narrowly hold off Norris and Ocon and the whole train behind us for P5. Tough race there, had no real pace from the first lap in this Grand Prix, and a real struggle, frustrating effort, but honestly we'll take the 10 points given the points gained for Red Bull today, but a big swing potentially in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships.
It's a performance to be proud of from our Mexico City Grand Prix winners today. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
So Max Verstappen then handed a huge lifeline then, with Hamilton failing to score and Verstappen winning the Grand Prix. The World Championship essentially could be back on. Let's have a look at the standings and see how much that gap has closed. But obviously the Constructors are a lot closer, and Red Bull will be right on our tail now with just 2 races to go. The first race in Vegas and then of course the finale in Abu Dhabi. So this championship could go both ways in both regards, both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. But I have to look at the final results of this Mexican Grand Prix and see where that leaves us with just 2 races to go in this enthralling 2023 season of F1.
And now let's take a look at the drivers' standings. This result then narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
Let's move on to the Constructors. No change in the top spot then, but with today's points, their hold on that lead is getting weaker. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So off the podium there, Alonso finishes in 4th place, Wills come home in 5th, Norris in 6th, and it's Ocon, Gasly, Sainz and Stroll, your top 10. Piastri and Lewis both failing to score in this Grand Prix, so only 10 points going Mercedes' way, whereas there's 40 points going the way of Red Bull. Unfortunately, Leclerc denied Red Bull the fastest lap. Verstappen 45 points back from Lewis. He needs to outscore Lewis by at least 20 points to keep the championship going to Abu Dhabi. It's likely Lewis will still become champion next episode, and we sit still 5 points back from Norris. So we're close a little bit today, but obviously not enough for P5 as of just yet. And in terms of Constructors, 5 points now between Red Bull and Mercedes. So the Constructors, I think, our main priority to ensure we win that to cap off our time with the Silver Arrows in a positive manner. But guys, that'll more or less do it for this episode of the F1 Ultimate Career Series. 2 races to go and both championships still on the line. It's going to be a very enthralling last 2 rounds. Make sure to like, share and subscribe for more future F1 content. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.